Welcome, Jason, to the show. Last name Bond, and he's actually the son of James Bond. Junior. So pretty cool. In fact, right before we turned on the cameras, I said, "So do you go by James?" Just because I read the last name Bond, and immediately that's what comes. So, having your dad having that name and you having a name that's close to James Bond, has that always been kind of a topic of conversation?
Oh, all the time. I get all the jokes. 006 and a half. You're not quite the heir, or I'm Jason Bourne and James Bond mixed. But yeah, he's James Bond Jr. He's older than the movies, and the books.
Really?
So, yeah. So he had the name.
He's before.
Yeah.
The James Bond saga.
And then my brother was James Bond the third. So since I was the last to be born, I was lucky enough.
What was their reaction when all the movies started coming out, the books?
Oh, they
and all
loved
that good
it.
Stuff.
My aunt, she has the whole collection of every single movie, like on VHS.
Yeah.
She loves it. We till this day they still watch every single one. We love the movies, but it's a little bit different because he's black, so he's the first black James Bond, I guess, before they transitioned into one soon.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then I know you refer a lot to your upbringing.
Yeah.
Childhood, etc. So maybe whatever you want to share there, tell us where you hail from and how the beginning days were.
So I'm from upstate New York, small town called Amsterdam, right outside of Albany. Grew up there most of my life with my dad, but mostly raised by my grandma. And I got a older sister, and I had an older brother. He passed away when I was younger. But it's a factory town. There's really not much there. So when I was growing up, it's like no ambition to really do anything besides work in a factory. If you got a job at Walmart distribution, that was like a good thing. So I was running with the wrong crowds, hanging with people I probably shouldn't have. And one thing led to another, and just realized I should not be there anymore. And I wanted to move out, but from a childhood, it was just already a struggle, like being homeless and poor, living in the woods. And then my grandma took us in with my dad, and the first year of living with my grandma, or second year, our house burned down in the middle of winter. And then the year after that, my brother gets sick with what they thought were ulcers, but he got treated for ulcers for almost a year and a half, but he actually had liver cancer, and he was 11. When he first got it, he was 9.
Oh, man.
And I was 7. And then he lived until he was 11, and I was 9, and then he passed. And then from there, I was just the most unruly kid. Like, I didn't care about anything because my best friend, my big brother, was gone. And I was just rebellious after that, and no structure really at home. My dad didn't really care neither, just because he was going through the same thing. He was frustrated with life. And he was in the military at the time, so he was home, not home. Then got into drinking, and then he was home and not home because he had to go to jail for DWIs and stuff. So my grandma's the one who really raised me. That's like my mom. But I wouldn't change any of it. Like, it happened, and it helped grow my personality and who I am, and make me stronger. But it also helped me look at life like it's not that serious. Like, I've seen what rough is and what hard is, and I'm not worried about anything from here on out. So once I got to the older stage and was hanging out with certain people and doing bad things and just being a bad kid, I ended up getting stabbed in an altercation. And then when I was in ICU, I was just thinking, like, there's no point in me being here. Like, this town, this city, this place, like, I'm going to be trapped here. I'm either going to die or I'm going to go to jail, because I don't want to work in a factory. So what am I going to do? And a commercial came on the TV for a school in Florida. And I was like, okay, well, I like cooking. Let me apply for that. So I applied and got accepted and moved to Florida. And history was made after that. Like, just turned my life around, worked in retail. That was my biggest thing, was being in retail, interacting with people every day. And it just shows me that I can meet all these people, all these different walks of life, and I don't have to have a grudge or be mad at anyone, and just be a happy person.
So that's a lot. So let me start unpacking this. Thanks for being vulnerable and thanks for sharing. So the ad that you had seen, you said cooking, so it was for
Cordon Bleu.
Cordon Bleu.
The Cooking Institute. Yeah.
Okay. And that was in Florida.
Yeah, in Orlando.
And then from the moment you saw that show or that commercial to your arrival in Florida, what span?
I got stabbed. It was probably early November because I was released right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And I moved to Florida in December.
Okay, so it was immediate.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you feel like that was the main pivotal point for turning your life around?
100%.
Okay.
I think the almost losing my life made me realize there's more to life. So when I got stabbed, it went in my chest, and it went this way.
So where did they stab you?
Chest, side, and arm.
So they started here?
Yeah, that was the first one, side and arm. So three stab wounds. The one that went in my chest, it actually went to this side and hit my lung. If I'd went that way, it would have hit my heart, but it went that way, luckily. And that was my sign that, maybe my brother's watching over me or somebody was there to protect me, because he used to protect me all the time. And I just felt, all right, I need to do better in life. So I got out. When I got out, I went and stayed at my mom's house for a little bit, which our relationship hadn't been there for a majority of my life. So I stayed there for a little bit, and then went on to Florida, and it was just a wrap from there. I just started growing as a person, and retail was my therapy. So people have retail therapy of shopping, and I had it of working.
Where did you do retail?
Started with Zoomies. I loved skating, snowboarding, so that was my life. I got in with them and then worked my way up. Then it was Billabong, then it was Hurley, and then from Hurley it was Stance Socks, and Stance was the one that really pivoted me into the right direction and part of the reason why I'm in Utah.
Okay, we'll put a pin in that one. I want to elaborate more on Stance. Okay, so let me go back to your brother, if you're okay, elaborating a little bit more. So he passes away. You're 9 at the time. He's 11 at the time.
Yep.
So 9/11 here. And then what were you thinking at that time at age 9? Like, were you thinking the universe is not fair? God is punishing me? Like, what were some of those thoughts? And the reason I asked that question is I'm sure viewers watching right now, they're going through or have gone through some sort of pain. So I think these stories help us understand that we're not alone, and that a lot of us go through our version of darkness, and it's our job as humans to interpret the darkness, get through the darkness so we can finally see the light. So maybe if you don't mind elaborating a little bit more on that whole process and what that did to you in your journey. It was
tough because I remember walking up to the casket and not even crying and not even just looking at him because I didn't think it was real. It was my dad and Kate picked me up from school on the day that he passed. He was at our house with hospice. My sister was home with him. She's the oldest. He's the middle. So my sister's home with him. He actually sent her to go do some random task, my brother did, because we believe he knew he was going to pass. So she was off doing that task in the house, came back, and he had passed. My dad comes and picks me up from school to let me know. And that moment, seeing my dad break down, was probably the hardest moment, because he's this tough guy that I've known my whole life and never seen cry. And then I was just in shock. So then I'm crying because he's crying also because my brother's gone. But then after that, it was more why would this happen? If God is real, why would he do this to this good kid? My brother was amazing, smart, the best kid. And I looked up to him in so many ways, and I was the troublemaker. He always kept me out of trouble, though, or stood up for me when I did something wrong and somebody wanted to beat me up, he would be there. So my thought process was why? And then it just turned into, well, I think everything happens for a reason. Maybe that was the turning point in our lives that things needed to change. And I just went with it. I accepted it for what it was. I don't know why it happens to kids. I still don't understand it. But at that moment, I felt like he was stronger and he could live through that. Being misdiagnosed for almost 2 years for having ulcers, but actually living with liver cancer, it was nothing. Still kind of going about his day. And then once finally he started getting the treatments and stuff, that's when he really started to deteriorate to us. and change who he was, but his personality never changed. He was always my big brother and the cool kid that I knew. So I think he could handle it better than maybe if it was me, maybe they would have been in a worse situation or they wouldn't have been able to handle it. So I think God works mysterious ways and he was chosen for a reason.
That's beautiful. Let me ask you this. On how often you think of your brother?
All the time.
Is that a daily thing?
All the time. I have a daughter that looks just like me, but more just like him. So, and I think of things that happen, and my sister will talk about something, or even my dad will hit me up and like, hey, this almost happened, but I think Jimmy was looking out for me.
That's cool.
So,
another question I just ask because, I've had stuff happen to me and I look at timelines and when it pops up in my mind. You mentioned his name is Jimmy?
Yeah.
James, you can call him Jimmy. When you wake up in the morning, how quickly does Jimmy come into your thoughts?
It's more based off of things that are going on or something I'm doing. Like, I love Japanese culture, and mostly because he loved Japanese culture and loved martial arts. So, like, if I'm putting on my bracelets or my Buddha or something, like, I know it's for him.
Okay.
And then, like, one of my favorite foods, and my daughter's favorite food is sushi. And we went for Make-A-Wish. We went to Disney, and he made me eat raw octopus. And I was like, I would never eat it, but I ate it because he asked me to, and he's my big brother. And I have a tattoo of an octopus, like, for that reason. But now sushi's my favorite food of all time. So.
Inspired by Jimmy.
Yes.
Okay, so. I love that. All right. Well, thanks for sharing all that. The reason I ask about timelines is, when we're going through stuff, it's interesting to see when those thoughts pop up during the day. If it's immediate, if it's midday, if it's in the evening, etc. The other thing that I've learned in life is, what we go through, it's unique to us. And sometimes we think that other people are thinking about those same problems that we're going through, and it's just not that way. It's very unique to us. It's very personal, and I think we just need to take time to love ourselves, to process it so that we can move forward and carry the legacy. So I'm sure for you, Jimmy, like, is an inspiration for you to be a better person, to be a contributor to society, etc. So when that first happened, you said that you started getting into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Like, maybe elaborate on that. You don't have to get into specifics on what you were doing, but what was going on with your mindset?
Rebellious.
And then that way our viewers, either as parents or as grandparents, or even as the guys going through it, we can decipher a little bit from the story. So you started becoming rebellious. Talk to us more about that.
I'm in, like, going to, like, what was it, like, not juvie court, but you're judged by your peers. So there was, like, kids court back then.
Yeah.
So I'm getting in trouble. Like, if I'm walking down the street, I might just break a window.
Okay.
Just because I'm mad. Slash a tire on a car. Yep. Literally just because I'm mad. Lots of fights.
And were you mad? What were you mad at? Were you mad at God? Were you mad at the universe? Were you mad at somebody?
My best friend wasn't there anymore. So now I just felt anger. And it led to more of, like, I looked at comedy. I watched a lot of comedy to help me try to be happy all the time. But then when I'm out, I feel like I had to be strong and not let this get to me. So then that turned into kind of anger, which was like, I don't care, I'll fight you. Like, I won't back down from anyone. I'll fight any of you. And so that was kind of the issue.
Did you get in a lot of fights?
Yeah. But then I'm hanging out with older guys now, so now I feel I can fight anybody because I got these big guys with me too and these older guys with me. But it was just knucklehead stuff that, looking back, like, I could have done none of that and still just looked towards comedy, looked towards things to make me feel better and still change my life. But I needed to be in those situations to build my character and build who I am, and now look at life and understand things from a different angle.
And then you're a dad, right?
Yes.
Okay. How many kids?
2.
2 kids. So now you're in the dad role.
Yeah.
How do those previous experiences help you in being the father that you are?
Oh, there's nothing getting by me with these 2. I mean, I have amazing kids and they know zero hardship. So, and I try to instill that. And I'm like, yo, you guys know nothing about not having any food in the fridge, not knowing when you're going to eat again. Like, the air conditioning always works for you guys. Like, They don't know anything. So I'm trying to instill in them, like, you have to be mindful of others and what they're going through.
If you don't mind, ages?
9 and 13.
9 and 13.
13-year-old boy, 9-year-old girl.
Okay, so they're at the age where you lost Jimmy.
Yes.
Okay, so keep going.
So I try to instill in them to be mindful of others. Like, let's help as many people as we can. My son has done a very, very good job of, he sees me just giving things to people. I give shoes away all the time. Like, I'll be at a basketball court. If you got beat up shoes and I got extra shoes in the car, yo, bro, what size are you? Let me go get you some shoes. I just give stuff away all the time. Now, my son has friends that he's like, hey, Dad, can I give them these shoes? They fit. Go ahead. Give them some clothes. I get new product. I get something in. Hey, give these to your friends. And now they see that as giving. Now my daughter's even doing it like, hey, I don't fit any of these clothes. Calls her friend on FaceTime. Hey, pick out all the stuff what you want. I'll mail it to you. And I just want them to be kind human beings to help others so that now we can pass that along and generate that chain. So now they'll see it and they'll want to do it, and hopefully it keeps going. So
that's cool. Where'd you meet your wife?
Orlando, Florida.
Orlando.
Literally the first week I moved there, I met her at a party.
Okay.
I got a job at a skate shop. My boss was like, hey, let's go to this party at UCF. Big college. I've never been to a big college party, so I'm like, I'm going to get so many girls. I go there, and for some reason I locked in on one, and it was because she had 2 cell phones. So I'm like, all right, where I'm from, 2 cell phones means you're doing bad stuff. So I'm like, let me see what she's into. Maybe she's making money. I could see, because I still had the bad mentality.
Yeah.
No, she had 2 phones because she just canceled one plan and started a new plan. So it was nothing bad at all.
Yeah.
And I don't drink, and she wasn't drinking. So I was like, okay, she's not drinking. This is a good sign. So we met there, and the rest is, I guess, history. That was like 2004, 2005. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're working in retail. You finished your courses with
it was a 1-year accelerated program. And I stopped probably right before I was supposed to graduate, because I was doing the externship, and I was just like, it's not for me.
Not for you.
No, I don't want to be in the kitchen. There's no interacting with people, and all the people in the kitchen are angry making the food, because the only time people give you comments is when it's bad. So I was just like, you know what? It's not for me. And you guys talk to each other way too disrespectful. Like the chefs talking to the prep cooks and like dishwashers, and it's just like, you guys have no respect for each other. And that's how the mindset is to get things done, by yelling and screaming. Like you see Gordon Ramsay, that's how they are in the kitchen. Like, are you dumb? Are you this? Like, and I'm not for that. So when I almost fought one of my managers, it's like, all right, I couldn't work in the kitchen.
Got it. Okay, so you fully pivoted into retail, and then what are you doing now?
So currently I would like to say that I'm a professional dot connector. So between brands and athletes, influencers, brand to brand, I help bridge that gap. So I'll have athletes that are going to go do a basketball camp. They need some sponsors. I've already worked with a bunch of these brands that already do that same stuff. Hey, I'll connect you. Or if I have a brand that's looking for an athlete or influencer to push a product, hey, I can connect you to these guys. They got a good following. They work well with brands that are going to do all the posts you ask. That's what I do on my day-to-day. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. It's different. I got in with some basketball players while living in Florida, and it helped. I started with their camps, which then led to other people. And then that's what I do currently. Previously, while I was in Utah, I was the brand marketing manager for Vivint. So I was doing the Jazz partnership and I guess any athletes and celebrities if we brought on.
Came through the Stance channel and then into the Vivint channel. So talk to us about, it sounds like Stance was kind of the pinnacle of the retail experience.
Correct.
Is that accurate? So talk to us about your road to Stance. Talk to us about Stance, and then we'll pivot from there.
So I went to Stance because of Hurley. One of my higher ups at Hurley went to Stance, and they were like, hey, we're looking to come to Orlando. What do you think about going to the outlets? And I was like, you guys should go to Disney. They're opening Disney Springs. It's going to be the shopping plaza. They went and looked at it, came back, and they're like, all right, we're going to do it. Do you want to be the store manager? I was like, I've been at Hurley for 7 years. It's owned by Nike. My goal was to be at Nike corporate. I really wanted to be there. But then I thought, why not take this risk? It's something new. It's growing. And I had already been wearing the socks since 2010-ish. And this is 2016. So like, I'm already a fan of the product. I like it, and I can help something build. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, all right, cool. Boom. It was weird though. They said yes, but I had to actually go do an interview process with Disney because it was on Disney property, and they didn't allow tattoos at the time. So
What year is this?
2016.
2016.
So you couldn't be tattooed and work on Disney property.
Did you have all the tattoos you have now?
Majority of them,
Majority.
yeah. So I go into a room, and it's all the suits of Disney, and they're like, oh, we need to go over this, because I was third party working. I technically am not a Disney employee, but you get a Disney card and all that stuff. So I had to explain, like, they're not gang related, they're nothing vulgar, and they're like, okay, we'll do it. And then only one person said something, and his response was, but I don't like the earrings. And all of them looked at him like, we just approved all these tattoos, and you're here about the earrings?
And you're there?
Yeah, this is in person. The guy's saying it to me, and I just laughed. Actually, the earrings, I used to have bigger earrings, and they had spiders in them. So that was part of the problem, too. So I just laughed, but they were like, approved. So then Stance came back. We got it. Boom, we're good. So that was store number.
I'm assuming nowadays that stuff doesn't even.
So that was the beginning of the change.
Okay.
They started letting third parties could have visible tattoos. And then now Disney employees can have visible tattoos.
Yeah.
But back then you couldn't have a beard. If you worked at Disney, you could not. You had to be clean shaven.
Oh, wow.
So
you didn't pass any of the test.
No.
Tattoos, earrings, beard.
Yes. But if you took time off and came back with a beard, you could have it. You couldn't have the in-between.
Got it.
It was really weird. So Stance, this is like the...
And sorry, so obviously your tattoos are extremely visible.
Yeah.
Nowadays, is there still a taboo with tattoos, or is it pretty much gone from your experience?
No, it depends. So coming to Utah, when I was going to work at Vivint, I'm like, are you sure? And they were like, they're going to love it because it's different. And like being in Utah, honestly, majority of the questions are like, oh my gosh, did that hurt? And it's genuine interaction. As for other times, I've had people be like, why would you do that to yourself? Or do your parents agree with this?
Yeah.
Which when my grandma was alive, she lived till she was 100, just a few years ago she passed. I would ask her or tell her before, hey, I'm going to go get tattooed. And her only thing was just don't do your hands or face. So I was like, okay. So no hands and no face.
And no face, yeah.
Yeah. So I cheat and do my head.
How old were you when you got your first one?
So I got a tattoo for my brother when I was 14.
14.
So my dad had just got out of jail. He's like, oh, I got a guy. We go.
Your dad's like, I got a guy.
Yeah. So then he takes me to a place, and literally half the roof was missing from this house. And I'm like, I'm getting a tattoo. Who cares? So luckily I didn't get hepatitis or anything. Get tattooed. And then from there, my dad would sign off on me getting tattoos all the time. So from 14 on, I started getting tattoos.
Does your dad have tattoos as well?
Yeah, but he's so dark you can't see him, so it doesn't really matter. He has 2, but yeah.
Got it.
But he loves them. He loves tattoos. He's all for it. So my mom's side of the family was always like, okay, that's different.
Yeah.
And then my grandma would always just be like, you really like pain, don't you? But she never said yay or nay. She wanted me to live life and explore and figure things out.
Yeah.
So it was cool. But now, yes, the tattoos, I think it's kind of over with for most part. You see more and more people with tattoos, more and more higher ups with tattoos, C-suite levels. I don't think it's as big of a
sometimes
deal.
in my travels, sometimes I'm in San Diego, LA, Puerto Rico, and if I see someone without a tattoo, they're kind of the anomaly.
Yes.
It's just really commonplace now, just the evolution of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to Stance.
Yep. So I started Stance. We're the number 5 store in Disney.
Yeah, but you get told yes. Okay.
Everything's good.
Everything's good.
Yep. They're like, you could do it. So I think the budget for the year was, we'll say under $1 million or 1 point something. We just destroy it. We're crushing. My store is the number 1 store. It's 900 square feet, just booming.
And you're selling socks, any other
socks
items?
And underwear at that point. It was only socks and underwear. So we were heavily on the guy side, pushing the product, just pumping it out. We were a huge hit. Now it's, all right, how can we duplicate that? So we started opening more and more stores. Now I'm going out doing the store openings, getting more roles with them, and wearing more hats, going to expos, Disney expos, Comic-Con, all sorts of trade shows. We get to, I think, 28 stores by the time COVID comes. And that's when it was like COVID hit and we just laid off 280 people and I didn't make the cut. I covered from Chicago over. I had 8 stores in my region and some of them had to close and it wasn't going to work out. So from there was a little bit of time off and kind of like, what do I do? I went and helped some other brands grow and open also at Disney because I had an in. And then I came to Utah for Stance Sidewalk Sale, the warehouse sale. So I would still help out and do things with them. And
who was your main contact at Stance?
Everybody, but I'm still like close with like your Clark Miyazaki's, Noel, and
Is
stuff.
he one of your mentors?
Yeah, I look up to him a lot.
Cool.
He's a great guy, and he was at Vivint when I got to Vivint. And then just the field crew though too. So all the people that I helped grow and mentor, some of my mentees are now store managers, running locations, still hitting me up. Hey, this is going on. What do you think? What should I do here? And I'm always down to help. I will never not answer that call for those people. So I come to Utah for the sidewalk sale, and I meet Susan Peterson, who owned Freshly Picked, and then I eventually meet Todd Peterson. No relation to each other. But while I'm here, I'm doing the sidewalk sale. I'm helping out, and then I'm like, they were saying, hey, you should live here. Susan was the first one that was like, you really should live here. Like, you would do great here. And I was like, I don't know. I visit a whole bunch for Stance. Like, let me see. Sure. And then I go to the Clippers Jazz playoff game, and they were nice enough to give me one of Todd's seats. So Todd comes and sits next to me. We're talking. He's asking me literally about my life story at the game. And I'm kind of like, bro, I've never sat courtside before. Like, I would love to watch this game right now. Yeah. But for him, he comes all the time. Sure. So then I'm like talking to him, and we hit it off, and he was really, really nice. And he's like, if there's anything you want to do, let me know. Like, I'll help. So I go back home, and I'm used to people saying stuff and not meaning it. So I didn't think anything of it. And then I asked Clark, like, did he really like mean that stuff? He's like, yes, he means what he says. So I created a pitch deck for a business plan. I flew back out, met with him. We went to dinner, show it. And he's like, yeah, I would be done. Gladly help you. And I'm like, okay, that was too easy. And then even the dollar amount, he was like, oh, that's all. So then I'm really thinking like, all right, these guys are full of crap. So I go back home, I'm telling my wife, and she's like, are you sure? Like, do you really trust these people? I'm like, honestly, I've never met people this genuine and this nice. Like, I think we should do it. So, boom, we move out here. And then the week we move here, when we were going to go through with our business plan, Nike put us on hold to get an account because we were going to open a sneaker store. And Nike put us on hold, so then we were just on hold. So then I was like, all right, well, I got to go get a job because I can't do the sneaker store. Sure. And then that's kind of how I went into working at Vivint.
That's cool. How long were you at Vivint?
A year and a half-ish, or a year. And then they sold the naming rights. And the other options for me were not up my alley. So it was kind of time for us to part ways. And then since I've been doing my own thing.
Doing your own thing. Cool. Can you, I don't know if you can, but can you name some of the athletes that you work with, or is that
bigger names? So All-Star Weekend here, I did Allen Iverson's celebrity basketball game for Utah Foster Care. Okay. So we had 2,300 foster care families and kids in attendance. Iverson was one of the biggest names there, obviously.
And did you have to, how does that work? Do you have to connect with his team, or?
It started by doing white chocolate Jason Williams basketball camps. So I met him in Florida. We became cool. We started doing camps at Stance headquarters, and then that grew into a thing. And then a guy that...
Stance headquarters in California?
Yeah. Okay. And then a guy came and was like, hey, I want to work with you guys. And
so I've been to Stance a couple times, and it's crazy the amount of athletes that are always there.
Training, practicing, hanging out. Yep. Because a lot of them like living right there
Yeah.
in San Clemente, and then they just go there to train.
Yeah.
And you can rent the gym out for the whole summer. Some of the athletes do that.
Yeah.
But so that's how it started, and then it moved. A guy came along, and we were like, do we trust this guy? Because he's like, oh, we can get you guys all sorts of deals for Jay, and he ended up being a really cool guy, and now he's one of my good friends, and we work on a lot of projects together. And he was connected to all these athletes because he helps athletes go to China. So if you want to go do something in China for them, he'll help you get over there and get the sponsorships and get the dollars. So I started working with him, and that came with, he handles Iverson, he works with Shaq, like all these big names. And then it's like, hey, Jason, do you have any brands that want to work with Iverson? He's looking to do this. And he'll give me a list of things, and then I'll go talk to the brands. Then now it's grown into more things. I was just at Summer League pitching a new project to some athletes, and now it's some younger guys, older guys, and then that led into going to a huge networking event with Josh Childress, who played in the league for a while. He's a big real estate guy and investor. So I went to his event, and that led to now more people. Hey, have you guys met Jason? He can help push your brand in any which way. So now that's opening so many more doors being in those circles. So that's why now it's just smarter for me to do some of the brand partnership stuff on my own and help these guys. And for me, my biggest thing is to make sure they get the right deal, not just a money deal. Because I see some of the guys get really bad deals, and I'm like, dude, I really wish you didn't take that deal. Next time, hit me up. And some of the deals I don't even take $1 on. Like all the basketball camps we've done, never took $1. Anything for Iverson, I don't take $1. Only because those are my guys and they helped me get to where I was, so I don't want anything from them. I just get to put that on my resume. And then these other guys I'm helping, now it's like, okay, your agent charging you $3. If you do a brand deal, which is completely different, they get charged 20% on that. So these guys start marketing agencies, and now you as an agent, you come to me, I give you a deal, I take 20% of it, your agent takes 3%. So now you just lost 23%. Now I go do it, and I'll be like, look, you got 20K off of this, I'll take 2,000. And I'll work with each one and make it different. And it just depends on the person and how we mesh and stuff like that. Now there's other people that I'm like, hey, it's a flat fee of this. It just all depends on the person. So
it's keeping you busy?
Yeah, it is wild. The last few weeks have been crazy only because I'm working with a new product that's going to go to market.
Yeah.
And we're showing it to investors and athletes. So that's been a huge thing. And then I have some side projects that I'm working on that I'm like, all right, I need this one to blow up because this is my baby. So I'm going to make this a kind of a priority, but I still need to do these other ones because they're bringing in the money.
Yep. And from what I understand, you're really good at putting on events too, and just sourcing the right folks for the right type of venue, for the right type of vibe, et cetera, right?
That comes from retail. So
Okay.
As a store manager, you wear all the hats. So if we did an event at our store, an in-store event with an athlete or something, we had to go put that on. We had to go get the vendor, go get the food, go do this. So then that grew into, hey, I could do this event, and then doing the Iverson for All-Star Weekend, helping at Dwayne Wade's All-Star parties every year for Stance, like being in those realms and seeing all that really helped me understand, like, okay, I've seen a lot of stuff go wrong, so now I can kind of, all right, let's do this. Make sure we don't forget to do that because I've seen that happen, and do different things, and which is how we met at an event I did, a casino night, which I thought was kind of mediocre, but a lot of people liked it. But I'm kind of hard on myself on the events I put on. But it's a fun thing. It's really, really cool, especially if brands are like, hey, help with this event. We'll just give you X, Y, Z. You kind of throw it together. So that's kind of how that event happened. It was March Madness themed. I got to play off of that, which was called Network Madness, bring it together, have this event. Now I'm going to do something for All-Star Weekend in the Bay next year. And they just say, hey, here's the 3 things we want. The rest is all up to you. And
is it nerve-wracking or is it exciting?
No, it's exciting. Because now I get to think outside of the box and like come up with things and that they probably would never think of. And they're like, okay, that's different. But then when they see it, it's like, oh, that's really cool. So like putting all those cars in that warehouse, they had no idea of doing that.
I didn't know how you got those in there.
And then I was like, I called my boy and I'm like, yo, can I borrow some like Lambos and Bentleys? And he's like, yeah, for what? I'm like, a casino night? He's like, outside? I was like, no, inside of a building. He's like, I'm in. So I was like, all right, cool. And that was like 3 days before the event that we got him to do that. But that's the type of stuff I want to do.
Mean, the event was held at a building. It's an office space. And I go to the event. I'm like, where am I right now? It was completely changed from your creation. So props to you for making that happen. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, this guy's different. This guy's special. So you definitely have a really awesome, unique ability. So props for that. So what gets you excited today, Jason? Like what are some things that you're like, man, I'm so glad that I get to do this? When you wake up in the morning, you're like, this is what gets me excited. What is that?
So on the top of my head, I'm tattooed. It says making good memories. And that's what I look forward to do every single day.
When did you get that one?
Prior to COVID, because I was working at Stamps when I got it, because I had to ask Disney, is it okay if I tattoo my head? They said yes. So 2018 or 19-ish. Okay. And it was just a thought, like, I would just want to make good memories. Like, we're not here forever. My kids aren't going to have me forever. People aren't going to have me forever. So let's make the best of it while we're here. And that's how I look at it. Like, let's go do everything we can. My kids wake up and they're like, hey, I want to do this. Like, sometimes I have to say no, but I want to say yes as much as I can. And it's not like, let's go on a shopping spree. Let's do this, let's do that. No, it's like, Dad, let's go out, play outside. Can you do this with me? My daughter, hey, will you watch me do a magic show? Like, those little things are the key moments that I look forward to. But now I want to make those memories in my work life too. So like, if I could put on an event for you and I crush it, that's a good memory that all those people attended. So how can I do that? If I can connect a brand with an athlete and it crushed, that's a good memory. So now I want to do that throughout everything that I do. If I touch it and be a part of it, I want to make it good and leave those memories with everybody.
That's beautiful. I love that. Okay, let's go back to your upbringing. You mentioned that you were homeless. How long were you homeless?
From about before a year old up until almost 5 years old.
Okay. And where would you guys seek shelter?
So my dad, for some random reason, took us from upstate New York to Colorado. We got in a car. He drove to Colorado. We got lost because he followed a car with Colorado plates thinking it was going to Colorado, but we ended up in Kansas. Sells the car in Kansas because we had no more money. Gets bus tickets. Gets us to Colorado Springs. And nowhere to go. So we started in the woods.
Okay, so who's with you at the time? Your
my
pops?
Dad, my sister, and my brother.
So there's 3 kids and a dad. Okay.
Yep. And he refused to go to a shelter because he thought they would take us from him.
Oh, wow.
So we lived in the woods for a good part of it, and then
tell me about that.
Like eating rabbits, like fishing. He would do all that because I was a baby. So, and then
and then what would you guys sleep under? Tents?
And then before it got winter, he did meet a lady, this like gypsy lady, and she let us sleep in her camper.
Okay.
So when it was too cold, we slept in the camper. If it wasn't too cold, we could sleep outside. And like a good day for me would be like once I got a little bit older, if we went to the dollar store and I got caviar and sardines, like that was a good day. Because that was, for some reason, I picked that, and I thought it was
There's caviar at the dollar store?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that ever in life now, but for some reason...
How is there caviar at the dollar store?
I wish I knew. And I would put it on crackers or bread, and I thought it was the best thing ever. And then once we got a little bit older, my dad finally bit the bullet and was like, all right, let's go to the shelter. So we lived at the shelter for a little bit, too, and out there.
And then, sorry, was he looking for work at the time? Was he working at all in Sea Springs?
No, I don't even know what he did, because he was in the military. And he went out there. I think he was in between re-enlisting. Okay. So when we went out there, no job, no nothing. He would go to the bars and play pool for money.
Got it.
So he's a pool shark type of dude. So he would go do that, and then that's how we kind of...
And is he from New York originally?
Yeah, they're from Brooklyn, moved to upstate, like Orange County area, Middletown, New York. And then went from there to... My grandma went to upstate because she took a job for... the Capitol. So she's been in the military her whole life. She's a World War II vet. Got it. And then for some reason, once we got to a shelter, we actually ended up getting kicked out because I hit a kid in the head with a hammer.
Of course you did.
Because he was picking on my brother, and I was protective of each other.
The little brother's protecting big brother.
Yeah, so we got kicked out. But for some reason, my dad got on a call with my grandma, and my grandma was like, I just moved to this house. It's got enough space. Come back. So we took a bus, came back, and lived with my grandma from age 5 pretty much on. And then up until I moved to Florida. I lived with her when everything was going on. So
got it. So that's, I mean, with your kids, you know, one of the things that I notice in you telling your stories is you make sure that they understand the things that they have, right? And I say this all the time, be grateful for what you have before it becomes what you had. And also, Jason, I think you have a superpower. And your superpower is you've been through some crazy stuff. Crazier than probably most people watching the show right now. And you said it earlier, you're like, my kids, they can't get past me on this stuff because I've seen it. I already know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. I've seen the movie. I've been in the movie. I've been the main actor. I've been the director. I've been the producer. So there's nothing they got on me type of thing. And I think, you know, as you're going through this stuff and you could have been called a hoodlum or whatever you want to call it, a troubled youth or whatever. But I think, and I'm not saying, hey guys, go do this so that you can have the superpower that Jason has. But what I'm saying is, those dark nights have produced a lot of bright stars for you. And now you can actually see in the dark because you've been through the dark. You know what it looks like. You know what it tastes like. You know what it feels like. And you definitely don't want to go back in there. And you want to make sure that your kids understand, you know, the blessings that they have and that they don't take them for granted. Like, it's interesting because, you know, nowadays, if you go to the gas station and they don't have your brand of water, like if they only have Arrowhead and they don't have your Fiji or your Voss, you know, you're upset. It's like, how can this be so? When we've been in situations where we don't even have water, we don't have a roof, we don't have anything. So again, it's just that power of being able to be grateful for just the most minute things. And, you know, kids now more than ever, not just kids, but even, you know, adults, they just haven't had to embrace some of that suck. And when tough times hit them, they don't know how to react because they haven't been put through that refiner's fire. So I applaud, you know, the person that you are today. I applaud that you're able to see your upbringing as something that, sure, when you're going through it sucked, but it's a beautiful story to tell, and it's empowering, and it allows you to connect with people that a lot of people can't connect with. Like if I'm trying to help somebody go through some stuff, let's say I'm trying to help somebody who is currently unhoused, if you will. It's tough for me to have that convo because I have not gone through that same situation. I can't show that sympathy, and it's be hard for me to show that empathy. So props to you for creating that superpower and just being the person that you are. For sake of time, the name of the show is Live Life by Design. So you can either live your life by design or you can live it by default, right? So either you're the architect of your life or somebody is being the architect for you and you're just their passive chess piece. So as we sign off today, some gems, some guiding principles as far as you living your life by design and what you can provide the listeners with.
It's not as bad as you think. Whatever you're going through, you can get through it, but write your story. So similar to Live Life by Design, I feel like if we could write and tell our own story, it will help us get to where we want to be, and it won't affect us when other people are trying to dictate things or say, you need to do this or you need to do that. No, write your story, do what works for you, make yourself happy, make others happy, and be a good person.
Well, mic drop it right there. Thanks for being on the show, brother.
No
Much
problem.
love
Thanks
to you
for
and the
having
fam.
me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.